From time immemorial, humans and monsters have been in constant conflict. Today is no different, as our protagonist, Kai, is fighting alongside other soldiers against a massive ape. Though small in stature, their unity and well-coordinated teamwork allow them to hold their ground. Kai calls out to Manso to help him take down one of the apes, but it's too strong and quickly separates them. Other monsters advance, surrounding Kai. Just as he's in danger, Aura, the eldest son of the Moloch family, comes to his rescue. He leads the army with extraordinary strength, earning the trust of everyone. To instill fear in the pigtailed apes and force them to retreat, he activates the power of the Earth God within him. The tattoos that appear are known as the sacred crests, proof that he is a guardian blessed by the Earth God. After this empowerment, he effortlessly defeats several apes with ease. Seeing this, the leader of the apes steps forward to challenge him. This leader also possesses special powers, making this a battle between chosen ones. Speaking in human language, it declares its wish to end the battle here. The two powerhouses charge at each other, but with his agility, Aura successfully evades the ape's attacks and delivers a fatal blow, cutting through its body and felling it instantly. Victory once again belongs to humanity, bringing joy to everyone. They have successfully protected their village, while the apes are forced to flee back into the forest. After the battle, Kai and Manso reflect on what has happened. Luckily, we managed to live through another day. The collection team then presents the spirit stone, found within the apes, to Aura. He drinks it down completely to increase his fighting strength, while the others each receive only a drop as a reward. They perform a prayer ritual to the gods before consuming it. Everyone feels a significant increase in strength, but still not enough to fight the apes alone like Aura can. Eating the core of the spirit stone greatly increases spiritual energy, thereby enhancing the body. Kai wants more, but Manso sets him straight. We're just ordinary soldiers, we're lucky to have gotten this much. The rest of the stone will be transported to the castle for the rulers. Like Aura, Lord Bosco decrees that the majority of the spirit stones must be given to the guardians. With them, they can maintain stability after each battle, which is how humanity can triumph over the enormous monsters. This is the immutable law of this world. Soldiers like them must become stronger without relying on spirit stones, so they can survive and return home as they did today. That evening, the warriors are treated to a feast. Thanks to your bravery, the village is safe, Moloch, Aura's father, says with pride. Manso finds this old man's constant platitudes irritating. To give so little food and then make them wait. Only the leader's family ever has enough delicacies. Yet Kai is delighted to have even a few of these dishes. Everyone can only wish they could eat more and resolves to work harder. The captain gets a larger portion, causing jealousy. He smiles and tells them, if you were stronger, you'd get a portion like mine. Kai vows to train so he can soon achieve such results, but when he swings his staff, he lacks the strength, still hungry. Suddenly, he blurts out some strange words, like, I wish I had rice cakes to eat. Manso has no idea what rice cakes are and asks about them. Kai says he just remembered it in his head, but doesn't really know what they are. This isn't the first time, he occasionally remembers things like this. While talking about food doesn't fill his belly, it at least eases the hunger. Kai points towards the graves of his fallen comrades. Those with families have their names etched on stone markers, but for warriors with no one, only dry twigs mark their resting places, as no one mourns their deaths. Therefore, Kai vows to live, otherwise he'll be forgotten, as if they had never existed in the village. To survive, they must win battles. Kai thinks that if he possessed extraordinary power, he might make a name for himself. Manso thinks he's probably just delusional. Inside, the two Aura siblings are arguing about fighting. Jose also possesses power, so she wants to help her brother. Aura refuses because their father doesn't expect her to choose the same path as him. It's too dangerous and she could die at any moment. Women in the Baron's family don't need to go to the battlefield. Jose wishes she had been born a man. Down in the courtyard, the two brothers are still helping each other train. Manso thinks if Kai only knows how to retreat, he can never win a battle. He's quickly defeated and falls to the ground, but suddenly his mind recalls images from a previous life, living on Earth with incredibly modern things. When he regains consciousness, he blurts out words related to magic. Manso apologizes, thinking he's driven the protagonist crazy. Maybe he'll sit up and tell me he's fine, then he realizes he still has memories from his previous life. A place that people in this world don't even know exists. Of course, Kai has never told anyone about what he's experienced, because he doubts they'd believe him, so he just leaves it alone. In his old memories, he knows how to make delicious rice cakes, but unfortunately, that knowledge is useless in this life. If anything, maybe magic would be useful, but he knows that it's just fiction and doesn't exist in the modern world. If possible, Kai wants to use magic in battle because it would help a lot and also make a name for himself, gaining what he wants. At the same time, the village chief receives an urgent letter. It seems that a pack of ogres has appeared in the western forest. The battle will take place near Banya village and they must participate. Although this exhausts the soldiers, according to the agreement, they need to get there quickly before things get worse. Yesterday it was the apes, now it's the pigs. This is truly tough. The duty of the soldiers is to always be ready for battle, to protect the country at all costs, even their lives. The father sees that his son speaks truly. Kai is still awake, thinking about how to create fire in his hand. Manso asks, what's he mumbling about? Go to sleep so you have energy. Kai says he's just imagining scenes in his dreams. Manso says that long ago, a traveler said that maybe it wasn't a dream, and that person could also make flames burst from his fingertips. Just like what Kai was thinking, he seems interested, but Manso isn't sure if it's true because it's just a story he heard. Kai gets up very early the next morning, wanting to go to a secluded spot to practice. If what Manso said is true, maybe he can create magic. This is perfectly logical because, up to this point, he and the others have been gathering power by eating spirit stones in this world. That shows that this place was formed by a mysterious power source they call the Earth God. Spiritual energy is something everyone is born with, it gradually increases over time, and perhaps when enough spiritual energy is gathered, they can unleash magic. Kai tries to focus his energy to create fire, but nothing happens. He thinks the problem is how to concentrate the spiritual energy into one point, feeling that it's in his chest. He senses its aura inside his own spirit stone instead of his heart. But no matter how hard he tries, it's all in vain. The scene shifts to the battle at Banya village, which has already broken out. The incredibly strong pigs have killed many people. Everyone says they're as stupid as pigs, but these ogres are very clever. They hide in the forest, waiting for people to arrive before attacking, instead of foolishly charging straight into the enemy's base. Kai's village has also arrived to provide support. After discovering the monsters hanging people in the trees, they launch an attack, but it's not very effective. Kai is even tripped by the corpse of a comrade and can't move. The monster approaches. But luckily Manso defeats it before Kai is slashed. He is scolded and apologizes for being so useless and having a problem with his leg. At this moment, Aura enters the battle directly, slamming one of the monster's heads into the ground. Seeing someone with special powers, the pigs choose to retreat, and he bitterly chases after them. On the other side, Kai and Manso run into another ogre. Kai tells Manso to leave him behind, but Manso refuses. Knowing they can't run, the pig slowly approaches to enjoy the hunt. With no other choice, Manso says goodbye. Kai understands and is ready to die, so he doesn't blame him, because if he were in his position, he would do the same. He promises to clean his grave every day to remember him. He thanks him and continues to run in the other direction to help Manso escape. But really, he doesn't want to die at all. In his final moments, he continues to focus his spiritual energy to create magic. The large pig throws a javelin and then attacks. Kai is choked but doesn't want to die and continues to struggle. Suddenly, his finger creates a spark, and he knows he can do it. With his determination, Kai sticks his hand directly into the monster's face, then releases a flame that burns the monster's body, freeing himself. The monster then collapses, and Kai grasps the flame in his hand, becoming a fire fist. Seeing that it's still burning, he frantically tries to put out the fire but immediately collapses due to exhaustion. It seems that casting this magic has cost him all of his spiritual energy. Feeling death approaching, Kai still doesn't give up. He's created fire, so he can extinguish it before his life is completely drained. He imagines a hydroelectric dam and successfully closes it. However, the monster is still alive and drags Kai elsewhere. It seems its eyes are blind, so it's relying on its other senses to move. Knowing he's going to die anyway, Kai continues to struggle, slashing the monster before falling into the abyss. Luck continues to smile on Kai as he, still alive, drifts ashore. However, his spiritual energy is depleted, leaving his body severely weakened. Seeing the dead monster nearby, he struggles to crawl over to take the core from inside. This is the first time he can eat it in peace. After absorbing all the nutrients from the Godstone, Kai's condition visibly improves. He goes to a corner and sits, gazing at the sky and earth. The wound on his shoulder is so deep that blood constantly flows out. He figures he won't last long. The only comfort at this moment is perhaps dying in a place with wonderful scenery. Then, he faints, cut back to the village, where everyone is on high alert, fearing an ambush during the night. Manso sits alone, saddened because he was quite fond of the kid. Meanwhile, Kai is bathed in moonlight until dawn. He suddenly wakes up as if nothing had happened, even though yesterday he thought he was on the verge of death. Checking his wound, he sees that it is gradually recovering miraculously and is no longer painful. He thinks it's absurd to eat a godstone and recover overnight. Additionally, he finds the Polnit stone slab, but doesn't know what it is. The only feeling it brings is that this thing is extremely familiar, as if he's seen it somewhere before. Curious, he intends to use fire magic to burn away the vines, but it explodes with a bang, sending Kai flying. After looking at himself in the water, he sees that he has received the blessing of the god. The divine crest on his face is denser than anyone else's. But the important thing is, he didn't expect himself to be a guardian marked. After examining the stone slab, Kai understands nothing and quickly looks for a way back, not even thinking about whether he is the chosen one or not. Just as he is about to climb up, the mark suddenly activates, causing him to lose control. At first, he thought the rocks here were softening, but it turns out to be the power within him. Moreover, he hears someone's voice urging him to leave quickly. Kai is a little scared and runs up with all his might. As a result, in less than a minute, he can escape the cliff just by running and jumping. Holding the new power in his hand, Kai is extremely surprised. It turns out this is the feeling he has always longed for. It turns out that enhanced physical strength makes everything easier. Sometimes even better than having magic. Kai wonders if this is truly the power from the protection of the god, since he hasn't done anything. The first thing he thinks about is that he will be able to eat more when he carries the guardian mark, but he suddenly feels a little worried about this, so he decides to keep the secret before finding out the reason for possessing the divine crest. At the village, the warriors are burying their comrades. Manso still hasn't found his little brother's body, so he is heartbroken. Just then, he sees him smiling and calling his name, making everyone rejoice. The war is over, and they return to their daily work. But what confuses the guys is that Kai hasn't shown any signs of fatigue since returning, while working several times harder than everyone else. They even have to stop him, otherwise he will till the whole field and there will be no work to do tomorrow. He also looks at himself in the water and is glad that the mark hasn't appeared, otherwise everyone will ask a lot of questions. The guys then talk about the abnormality of their younger brother, asking why he is so strong now. He has no choice but to lie, saying, "I ate my fill of godstone during the battle at Bania village. A bunch of orcs were killed in the forest, and my body was badly injured, so I ate more than a dozen at once, and that's how I gained this power." Hearing this, the team leader doesn't suspect anything, saying that's why he's so strong now. He once heard that some people have become incredibly strong after eating a lot of godstone. No one should have the right to possess so many, but this is a life or death battle, so he lets it go, and even praises his younger brother for seemingly finding the truth of his life. While they are talking, Kai is noticed by a beautiful girl. Elsa is also asked by the girls if she likes anyone, making her shy and go somewhere else. Cut to Lady Jose, who is inspecting the gifts prepared for the upcoming event. Although their land is poor, they can still grow crops like this thanks to the efforts of the Baron and the Earth God within him. Her father is also a guardian mark who protects his territory. Their strength makes the land fertile. At the same time, Kai is going to a place to practice using fire, and his spiritual energy is not affected like the first time. There is no doubt, he has actually possessed fire magic in his hands. However, he is quite curious whether this is from the protection of the gods. Just then, Jose passes by, causing him to startle and quickly hide the fire in his hand. Kai intends to leave, but is stopped because she is not stupid. She asks what he is doing here. If he doesn't tell the truth, she will arrest him and investigate. He has no choice but to reveal that he can create fire, but everything is still very vague because he doesn't actually know how to activate it. It's just that he accidentally awakened this ability while on the verge of death. Jose knows a lot of information and says that Kai may be a person with superpowers. There are people who use mysterious abilities that seem impossible. That is the name of the special family members from the Central Lands and a few monks. Hearing this, Kai is quite surprised that there are others who can do it besides him. And they even call it a superpower instead of magic. What is difficult to understand is that the young man is not tired at all. In addition, she also heard about the rumor that he ate a lot of godstone to become stronger from Kai. The reason he's not tired is probably because he possesses a lot of spiritual energy through absorbing the stones, which means there are many ways to become stronger and she always wants to be like that. So she forces Kai to practice with her. Since returning, Kai hasn't fought anyone, so he is also surprised by his abilities. After fighting evenly with the young man, Jose activates the guardian mark to make the battle more exciting, and also because he doesn't know how strong he is now, Kai doesn't dare to use his full strength, because if he does, the divine crest will be activated and all the secrets will be revealed. Later, he looks at himself in the water again, thinking to himself that he can fight evenly with someone who has the mark without using his full strength. The young man also has to bring water for the girl to wipe herself. Looking at the beautiful girl in front of him, he also looks shy. He talks about how he thought people with guardian marks were equally strong, but the strength of her and her brother is indeed far apart. Jose admits that she is still too weak, unable to compare to her father and brother. This power will change based on the strength of the god in the person and of course also needs to be practiced regularly so as not to rely too much on the divine crest. Then Kai says she doesn't need to practice so hard, implying that women shouldn't fight battles, making her angry. He thinks that even if they are female, once they carry the guardian mark, they need to have the responsibility of protecting the land. There will be times when strength is needed, so they try to practice to be like their brother and father, to become all-powerful. People like her need to win many life and death battles as possible, and there is another ability that she can do at this time. Because everyone has started coming, Jose has to go back first, otherwise her father will know that she is practicing and she will die. Kai is very curious about the last sentence, wanting to learn more. She says she really wants to tell him, but there's no time. However, she will be doing the monthly tomb cleaning soon, wanting to invite him to go together so he can answer questions. Her earth god is worshipped at Ida village, so she will arrange to help him go there with her in a few days. He and his older brother were given to go escorting. Ida village is the territory of the monkeys, so they must be vigilant. Luckily they haven't heard of any attacks recently. Some people ask Kai if the rumor that their teen was specifically named by the lady to go escorting is true, because it seems that she has noticed him. He is too shy. Fortunately, his senior helps him by saying that she doesn't know who Kai is. However, there are still many people who believe in the rumor, but the whole group turns to glare at Kai because he is being cared for by a beautiful girl arriving. They tell that this place used to belong to the Baron's family, but was forced to be abandoned after many monster attacks. Luckily there is still a tombstone that has not been destroyed. So every month people will come to clean and worship at the same time. Before that, this place was a field, but because it has been abandoned for many years, it is quite barren now. The grace of the earth god has also decreased and no longer reaches this land. That is the magic that the guardian marked help the crops grow. Then Jose specifically names Kai to follow and protect her, taking him to the flowers, and then activating spiritual energy to transmit it into the soil. Only those with guardian marks connected to the earth god can do this. This is her second ability. However, this place has been abandoned and the earth god has weakened, so it doesn't have much effect, just enough to keep this flower garden growing. The power of the person with the divine crest directly affects the land they live in, just like in the village, because her father is very strong. The harvest is always good. A lord is required to possess this ability to help people develop. After inspecting the tomb below, they both go inside to clean. There is also a pole-lipped stone slab here. The writing is exactly the same as what Kai found in the valley, which means that place used to be the tomb of a god. Suddenly he understands the ancient language and translates it by touching it. Kai also reads a few paragraphs, but there are also some incomprehensible parts that don't form a complete sentence, so he doesn't know what the real meaning is. Jose asks what he is mumbling, but he doesn't dare to say. Outside, the monkeys have discovered everyone's suspicious behavior and are watching. Meanwhile, the girl has just started offering gifts to her god. She wants this place to develop again and attract people to live in the future when she is stronger. The person with the guardian mark must have the responsibility to go with it. Kai also expresses admiration when he hears these things. After going up, they received the news that monsters were coming, and immediately hid the tomb. Jose is forced by her subordinates to leave, but in the end she is surrounded. Seeing her flowers being trampled, she comes forward to threaten, but looks scared. Seeing this, Kai rushes in to help, single-handedly defeating two monsters. In that moment, Jose accidentally saw the dense divine crest on Kai's body, but the next moment it disappeared, making her think she was hallucinating. Need to learn how to fight. Hearing that, she couldn't argue. Her father was just glad she returned safely. He assigned her brother to patrol because an inspector from the central region was coming. He also ordered the soldiers to be aware of this. Jose apologized to her father for being useless, but regarding Kai's story, he was looking forward to meeting the strong young man. For a rookie to defeat those monkeys, that's impressive. On the other side, Kai was being teased by everyone, who asked if he was now a hero in the abandoned Ida village. He pretended that he was just desperate at the time, but the others had heard everything. It seemed he was very close to Lady Jose. Seeing them acting like a couple of lovebirds, the women in the village also noticed the squad leader and went to help their younger brother. And according to the women, only Kai had the potential to become a decent person. Hearing this, the girl next to them, Elsa, brightened up because she was interested in him. They reminded Elsa that if she liked him, she should take him, otherwise another girl would snatch him away. Just then, Lady Jose appeared and called Kai away to talk. He thought she'd discovered that he possessed the guardian mark, but actually, she wanted to thank him for saving her life in Ida village. She even carefully bowed her head to express her gratitude from the bottom of her heart. She was about to mention the divine mark on Kai's face but stopped herself, thinking, surely not, and repeated that she couldn't do anything when facing the enemy. Jose realized that being strong wasn't enough, she also needed a strong will. Therefore, starting tomorrow, she would come to train with him every day. She would be more diligent than before, and she hoped Kai would agree. Hearing this, he was surprised but couldn't refuse since she pressured him, so he had to agree. The guys outside, watching Kai being scolded, imagined all sorts of things. Later, while working, Elsa brought water to get to know him. Feeling shy, she pretended that everyone told her to bring it to them. Since he was thirsty, he drank it all and even praised it as tastier than usual. This made her very happy. She was about to talk to him some more, but someone called her, so the two promised to meet again later. Watching her leave, Kai still didn't understand what was going on, but his brother Manso did, guessing that youth has begun to blossom for you. He denied it and suddenly heard the sound of the bird from the valley. It was like a call to him. At night, unable to resist, the young man decided to go out. With his divine power, he leaped over the city wall from the inside in one go. And his speed had increased significantly. He also felt happy about returning to the valley. After arriving, without hesitation, the young man jumped into the water. The feeling of dying and coming back to life in this place is truly fun. Kai said aloud that he really liked the valley and also saw the bird that had called him there. It led Kai toward the stone tablet. He tried to touch it, but he still couldn't decipher the ancient language like the gravestone in Ida village. Knowing that he had survived until now thanks to the blessings of the god, Kai thought he had to express his sincerity and offer his heartfelt thanks. He diligently cleaned the stone tablet bit by bit, making it spotless. Moreover, he even buried the orc, because, after all, he had awakened thanks to that orc. After finishing the work, he ran up high to explore. For some reason, Kai could now see clearly in the dark. This must also be part of the god's protection. The area had a lot of vegetation and many delicious fruits. Kai thought this forest was rich in food, and that it's a pity not to live here, so he suddenly had the idea to build a house. First, he needed to chop wood, but he only had a short knife, which he couldn't use as an axe. The young man thought that using magic would be effective. So he tried it. He turned the fire on his hand into a blade, but when it touched the tree, the whole tree burst into flames. He thought, playing like this is stupid, there's a risk of burning down the entire forest, so he switched to another method. Since he could create fire, Kai was confident that he could do much more. Magic was formed based on imagination. He thought cutting something meant destroying its molecules. Since he didn't fully remember his past life's knowledge, Kai wondered, what are molecular bonds? Ignoring that, he knew he had to follow his intuition. What he was cutting wasn't the tree but untying the bonds inside. He kept creating an invisible blade piercing through. However, at that moment, the valley was invaded. For some reason, the orcs were there searching for something. Kai discovered a new tribe he had never seen before. Knowing that this group wanted to enter the valley, he subconsciously activated his guardian mark and rushed to stop them. About to attack, Kai regained his composure. The others spoke a different language that he didn't understand. They even threatened him with knives, but they were stopped. The old man knew Kai's language and introduced himself as Borech, the leader of the dwarf tribe. The old man knew humans' language since he used to interact with merchants. They were masters of craftsmanship, so their products were always considered valuable goods. First, he apologized for entering the forbidden area. They came here to ask for the ancient covenant with the great god of the valley. Seeing everyone kneel and bow, Kai didn't understand. Borech said that the god there looked like a human. Since ancient times, the dwarf tribe had lived in peace and worshipped the earth gods. But recently, the orcs had continuously attacked, putting the tribe at risk of extinction. That's why they had to run here to beg for help. A weak race like them couldn't possibly fight the towering orcs. The old man kept calling Kai the ancient judge, please save them from their current plight. He hoped he would listen to the tribe's pleas. Kai curiously asked what judge meant. Borech explained that it was someone who possessed great power, surpassing all creatures and protecting all creations. He shook his head, not thinking he was so great. The spear carrier from before also told the leader about this, not believing that he was a god. It was said that the manifestation of the judge was a brave warrior who strictly punished those who disobeyed. This small human can't be the great figure in legend. Being seen as small, Kai was annoyed because he was still much taller than them. But the old man believed the truth. In his youth, he had angered the god by entering the valley without permission. As a result, his eyes were damaged. Although he could no longer see the sunlight, he possessed power and could see many other things. This world was filled with the light of spiritual energy, and Kai was emitting a very noble blue light that couldn't be mistaken. He was the manifestation of the god of the valley. After receiving this power, Kai had become the judge. That was absolutely true, not made up. In addition, they said that they had offered a sacrifice to the valley to ask permission to enter. That was his granddaughter Arugi, who vowed to dedicate her life to the valley. Hearing this, Kai disagreed with this approach and immediately went to see. Just then, the rope broke, so he jumped down to check. He didn't want anyone to die in this place and tried to do something. Seeing that the girl was seriously injured, he thought about a type of magic that could heal. Since he had healed himself, it meant he could heal someone. The young man concentrated on restoring all the damaged parts and cells in her body. Although he didn't know what this was, he finally succeeded. Kai was surprised that magic could also heal. Up above, things were starting to happen as the orcs had arrived. Many people had been killed. Kai was furious with this group for daring to set foot in his land. He went to the leader, but he threatened him back by activating his guardian mark. In Kai's head, a voice appeared, kill them all, engrave the pain into their bodies, and sow fear so that no one dares to come here again. It seemed the god of the valley was very angry, and so was Kai. The old man vowed to contribute his meager strength, as he was also marked. The dwarves were loyal to the god of the valley and would try their best. Kai activated his guardian mark, making the hogs realize he was the master of this place. The leader still ordered his subordinates to attack. But Kai immediately defeated him. The old man also rushed in and killed one, being praised for his agile moves. The dwarf tribe inherited good fighting techniques. The rest depended on the judge, Kai. He stood up and sentenced them to death for daring to invade and defile this valley. The leader was scared and spoke in human language, begging for forgiveness, saying this was not a matter for the judge but an issue between the orc and dwarf tribes. He didn't care and said this was his business because they had entered the valley without permission. That was enough to warrant a death sentence. At this moment, power radiated from him, creating a blue light. Kai had merged with the god of the valley, saying, "For the peace of the valley, I will kill him now." The image of the god also appeared behind him, staring the enemy, who bowed and begged but only received a shake of his head. Pushed to the brink, he tried to do something, but with a wind blade, Kai cut off his arm, leaving everyone not understanding what had just happened. Immediately after, the final verdict stabbed straight into his chest to extract the divine stone, proving the victory. He had sown terror in everyone and also understood many things. He was no longer confused, for this was the god of the valley who used the blue flame to burn his eyes. This god had no mercy for invaders but also bestowed mercy on those who deserved it. Kai was the great manifestation wielding the balance of life. The god of justice had watched over the world since the age of the gods, and above all, was the judge. After obtaining the god's vein from the monster, Kai was reminded that absorbing it would grant immense power. This was the first time he had defeated someone bearing a god's crest, so the godstone was clearly larger than those from other individuals. The dwarves were thrilled that Kai was about to take the protection away from that pig. It seemed that whoever consumed the god's vein of a crest bearer would absorb the earth god's power and inherit the protection. However, if one didn't want to, they could consume it like any other godstone. Old man Polek advised Kai to take advantage of this to increase his own strength, so he would be powerful enough to protect the valley. Hearing this, Kai cut off some of the godstone and shared it with the old man as a reward for his contribution. Polek was grateful and consumed that energy to strengthen himself, but it seemed a bit too potent for him. Nevertheless, Kai took a gulp and drained it all at once. Immediately after, his body reacted. The soul of the earth god blessing the pig also escaped, as it was not of the same caliber as the god in the valley. When a crest bearer died, the soul of the god would return to a sacred site. More importantly, Kai started feeling discomfort in his chest. It seemed this was the effect of eating the god's vein of a crest bearer. Kai said he was fine and just needed to return to the valley to rest, also asking them to stay away from there. While unconscious, Kai recalled a childhood memory of losing his family and loved ones to monsters. When he woke up, he was surprised to find old man Polek's granddaughter, Arugi, lying beside him. He asked her what she was doing there and why she didn't go home. Arugi was worried about him, the god's protector, so she had covered him with a blanket. She had already vowed to dedicate herself to the god in the valley, so she only asked that Kai heed the plea of her clansmen. From now on, she would always be there to serve, that was her role. However, Kai didn't want that and advised her to return to her people. Arugi refused, as her grandfather had said that doing so would bring disaster upon everyone. Kai found it annoying and tried to send her back, but she wouldn't listen. He had saved her life, so she would serve the god's protector forever. After arguing for a while, they heard a bird chirping, making Kai realize it was morning. He needed to return to the village, so he advised Arugi to go home. The dwarves were still waiting for him to allow them to live there, as they would surely die if they left. They were willing to dedicate themselves to the god in the valley. Their homeland was being attacked by orcs, so even temporarily, they hoped for a place of refuge in the valley to live. Seeing them all bowing like that, the god judge reluctantly agreed but forbade them from setting foot in the valley. Just as he was about to leave, the old man reminded Kai of a few things to avoid danger after returning to the village. Kai hurried to the meeting spot to spar with Lady Jose. She asked him what he had been doing that made him late. He pretended to say, "I overslept," and then started training. In another development, Baron Vegin went to Manso to ask where Kai was. Somehow, they ended up in a sparring match, and everyone was surprised that the Baron had chosen Kai as his training partner today. The reason was that Kai had bravely protected the lady earlier, so the father wanted to test his strength. The two brothers also watched intently. Kai didn't want this to happen and was advised not to use any dirty tricks, even when desperate, or the Baron would get angry. The youth was also praised for being able to repel a group of long-tailed monkeys. Of course, this was just a practice match, so he wouldn't really be killed. Luckily, he had been reminded by Mr. Polek that he had to hide his identity as a god's crest bearer for a while, as he had only recently inherited this power, which made him vulnerable to other crest bearers. Before mastering his power, he shouldn't let others know. Kai knew he had to try hard to restrain himself so that the divine symbol wouldn't appear. The fight immediately began. Indeed, the Baron possessed immense power, and the weapon he used was very heavy, but his skillful technique caused Kai's divine symbol to appear. Luckily, no one had noticed, as they were all focused on Mr. Vegin. The next second, it disappeared, so he could continue fighting. Seeing that look, the Baron was very pleased and wanted to have a bit more fun. Being inferior in size and strength, he was quickly disarmed. However, he didn't give up but rushed straight in to grab the opponent's legs with the intention of knocking him down. The two brothers were shocked to see that this guy had the strength to lift one of their father's legs. The Baron then kneed Kai away. Jose was pleased to see that that was all he could do and that he wasn't stronger than her. While Kai was panting, Mr. Vegan smiled contentedly, saying he liked Kai very much. That's why, from tomorrow, he would personally train the youth to become even stronger. He didn't like it, but it was an order, so he reluctantly accepted, thinking to himself that this father and daughter were crazy, always making him fight. Jose was also happy because there was no one here who could fight with her father like her, thinking that she would have to be even stricter tomorrow. The brothers then came to help him up, but still smiled because they saw the youth being beaten. Manso teased him, saying, "Don't worry, if you die, we'll bury you properly." Elsa, who witnessed the whole incident, was very worried about Kai. It turned out that she had known him since she was a child, which was why she was always paying attention to him. A few days later, when night fell, the youth woke up to go to the valley, so he ran straight to his favorite valley. He hadn't had any time to go to the stone tablet because he had been harshly trained by that father and daughter. He also greeted his god with a word. Somehow, he also discovered that a small house had been built next door. When he went inside to take a look, he saw Arugi happily welcoming him. She had built this house herself these days and was waiting for him. When he asked if the dwarves had entered here without permission, he learned that they hadn't. Seeing the many wounds on her hands, he believed her but still had to send her away, but she wouldn't listen. She immediately took out food to tempt him. For some reason, she had been able to harvest a lot of things here. Her cooking skills were flawless, it looked delicious just by looking at it. The food came at a price, but it was too good to resist. Aru, seeing Kai eat like this, also brought a lobster. He recounted that he had never eaten so much since he was a child. After returning to the village to work at noon, the youth was surprised to be given 3 times as much food. The Kainan thought he had been working too hard lately and felt sorry for him. The brothers saw this and asked where the fairness was, but they were scolded like dogs. They did little work but wanted to eat a lot, while Kai had almost plowed an entire field. It made sense, but the 3 brothers were still not satisfied, and Manso was also teasing him outside, saying, "Youth has arrived." Elsa, who had been watching the whole time, ended up scooping too much food for him. The brother thought she liked him, but immediately after, it was taken back. In the following days, whenever Kai was free, he would go to the valley to help Arugi with her work. During the day, he practiced with the lady, and at noon, he had to work in the fields. Everything was going very smoothly. Kai was also starting to have feelings for the little dwarf. Seeing her living alone here was a bit pitiful, so whenever he was free, he would run over to play. Besides, he was happy to see the dwarf clan starting to thrive again. The next day, they encountered a large stone blocking the road that no one could push away. Fortunately, Mr. Vegan happened to be passing by, so he came to help. With his strength alone, everyone initially didn't believe he could lift it, but immediately after, the large stone was lifted, making everyone admire him. Thanks to this power, the land became more fertile, and from now on, the crops would grow even better, making it well worth the effort. That night, inspired, Kai began to learn how to help plants grow, but he was unsuccessful. He thought he still had a lot to learn as a god's crest bearer. A few days later, seeing Elsa walking to the flower field, Kai came to ask how she was doing. The two had been playing together a lot lately. The friend said that the flower garden was blooming more beautifully than in other years. Initially, these were all seeds that they had brought from their old village. When their village was burned down, the people at least wanted to save the flowers, so they brought the seeds. Although the village was gone, there were more flowers than before, which was comforting. Speaking of this, Kai remembered that this friend was also born in his village a long time ago. Hearing this, Elsa glared at him because he dared to forget his fellow countrymen. He apologized, saying, "I was too young when the village was burned down, how could I remember your face?" Unlike the youth, Elsa was always watching his actions and praised him for being so great as to attract the attention of the Baron and the lady. Kai humbly said, "Compared to them, I still have a lot to learn, I have to be stronger. For those who no longer have family or relatives, they have to be stronger." Kai had said this when he was a child, so Elsa also recounted that when their village was destroyed and Kai was crying alone, but after seeing a monkey attack, he was not afraid and rushed to stall, which allowed her to survive to this day. She thought everyone would be killed back then. But fortunately, Mr. Vegan came to save them. Recalling this, Kai remembered that he had indeed met him before and had boldly declared that he would definitely become stronger. He recounted that he had been desperate back then, while everyone was waiting for death to come, he couldn't do anything. After saying this, he laughed because he didn't know why he had forgotten that memory. Elsa still clearly remembered how Kai had protected everyone, saying, "You haven't changed at all." Cut to the forest. At this time, a stronger group of orcs came to eliminate the group of long-tailed monkeys. The leader didn't bother to activate his god's crest but was still strong enough to defeat the leader on the other side in one hit. The monkey possessing the crest was slashed down, and the next target of this group was the valley where the dwarves are currently living. Kai still comes here often. Today, Aru has created a new item and is showing it off. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay updated when the channel releases a new video. Thank you. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay updated when the channel releases a new video. Thank you.